The cold gray high wall seemed to go on forever. The thick metal grills crisscrossed over a very few windows. Barbed wire circled over the top of the walls. Archbishop Ledesma and I had received permission to visit this maximum security prison. Inside was a high-ranking leader of the National Democratic Front. Permission was granted because we both represent an ecumenical body assigned by the government to assist in the peace talks between the government and the National Democratic Front, a revolutionary movement in the Philippines waging an armed insurgency since 1969, 49 years of fighting. The security protocol was intense. As we entered the fortified gates, we were separated from each other for questioning, and then fingerprinting, and then photographing, and then finally a full body search, and then there was this long, lonely wait. And finally, we were allowed to come back together and escorted by armed guards across the prison grounds. As we walked, it was an eerie feeling, eyes peering at us from guards, from inmates. And then we were led to a room, an empty room, with just 4 metal chairs, old metal chairs. In a few minutes, the high-ranking leader was ushered into the room, and I was a bit surprised to find that he was quite thin and elderly. I guess with such a leader's stature, I thought and imagined maybe a LeBron James would walk in the room. He entered, and Archbishop walked up, and they embraced. I was confused. A Catholic archbishop embracing this Marxist revolutionary. What was I missing? Their friendly conversation showed that they did have some history and they knew each other. They were both students at the same time at the same prestigious university in Manila. And as Archbishop turned to introduce him to me, he said, I was a good Catholic, and he was always an active protester, taking people out into the streets to protest, but nobody dared debate him. He was one of the most articulate students we had. And then Archbishop went on to introduce our purpose. He said, we come as peacemakers to know how you are, to know how you're being treated, to help in any way. And then he quietly looked at us. He said, peacemakers. Who are the peacemakers? Then he looked away, looked up to the ceiling, and he told this story. He said, there was once a priest who came to break up a quarrel. And as he held one party to one side, he listened to the complaint and the reason of that party. And he said, yes, you are right. And as he held the other party off to one side, he listened to the complaint and the reason of that party. And he said, yes, you are right. And then his young sacristan who was with him said, but Father, I don't understand. How can they both be right? And the priest turned to the young sacristan and said, yes, you are right too. And then he said, who are the peacemakers? And then turning back to us, he said, when can we really depend on you to right the wrong? On this Peacemaking Sunday, I believe this question needs to be revisited. Who are the peacemakers? And when can we really depend on you to right the wrong? Today we find ourselves in a familiar story of our faith, the feeding of the 5,000. Jesus is up a mountain, sitting with his disciples. And a large crowd begins to gather, and he looks over the large crowd, and he turns to Philip. Philip, how are we going to buy enough bread to feed all these people? And Philip, trying to give an intelligent answer, gives some kind of cost analysis and says 6 months' wages. But he didn't know. But Andrew said, well, look, there's a boy over there with 5 loaves and 2 fish. With this beginning, I am already disturbed. Something is not right. See, the story begins by introducing 3 persons in their proper name. Jesus, Philip, and Andrew. But the one is not. He is just called a boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish. I am disturbed. I am disturbed because we know how things usually work. Being named often refers to importance and status and often fame. George Washington, Serena Williams, Madonna, Einstein, Mark Zuckerberg, Meghan Merkel, even Ronald McDonald, and I could go on and on. For a lack of a better term, these we can call big personalities. The names of big personalities get mentioned, get written about. But to be unnamed, that refers to another status. It is not having the importance to be introduced. It is not having the credentials to be mentioned. It is not having the prominence to even being written about. A boy unnamed in the story, forgotten, overlooked, less than important. Today, my proper name may have been mentioned, but I've never been on the cover of People magazine. And there are more days, I tell you, that I feel left out. Maybe because of my funny accent, maybe because of my height, I'm a little bit shorter than this lifts me up to be. Or maybe because of my white hair. Forgotten, overlooked, neglected. And if I'm not mistaken, we have all been there. And maybe for some of us, we are there right now, today, feeling that forgotten, overlooked, less than important feeling, for whatever reason it may be. Our story tells us a boy, unnamed in the story, is found among a multitude of people. And I wonder, what is this person doing with 5 loaves and 2 fish on a multitude of people? Did he plan a picnic? Maybe, but why all alone? Or did he pack his lunch? Maybe, but why so much? I was coming to Swarthmore today, and I knew I would be here, and I understand it is the most intelligent church per capita among all Presbyterian churches. So I knew I better prepare well. So I went to the books, and I began to look up. And you know what? I discovered something really exciting. The Greek word for boy used in this passage, the Greek word for boy used in this passage translates pahidarion, which means young servant or messenger, often, but not always, boys. Well, no wonder he was not given a name. He was the status of a young servant. Now, given the circumstances, we can assume, Pastor Sarah, that the young servant was sent by some important person to buy bread and fish, and was likely on his way home. And as he was walking, he suddenly began to see the crowd gathering. And like most of us, got a little curious and thought, wonder what's going on. Maybe I'll take a closer look. And still a bit curious, he got closer and realized he couldn't see what was going on because he wasn't very tall. So even on his tiptoes, he struggled. So he starts to make his way into the crowd. And as he makes his way into the crowd, he gets up in front and he realizes he's looking at 3 people. Still curious, I can imagine. He may have turned to the person next to him and said, excuse me, what's going on? Who are those three? You don't know. You don't know. That's Jesus and that's Philip and the other is Andrew. Oh yeah. I kind of heard about him once or twice. I think I know what you're talking about. But then suddenly he noticed that they were looking at him now. And as they looked at him, they seemed to be talking about him. And as they talked about him, they seemed to be walking towards him. And suddenly he thought, oh no, what have I done? What is this going to mean? Should I just hide away and get lost in this crowd? Or should I speak to them coming to me? Should I get involved here or not? Well, maybe not. Maybe I'll just disappear and not get involved. Then all of a sudden, cut. Oh no, like a nice movie we're watching. Suddenly the movie ends and the lights come on and we wonder what happened. John, our writer, did not record the conversation. What a moment to stop. I thought to myself, this young boy passing by with his bread and fish finds himself in this situation, being asked to give up his bread and his fish. And John, what were you thinking? Why did you stop now? I can only picture with my imagination, and if you will allow me, just allow me to continue a bit. I think God was working on this young person and this unnamed servant and decided, he decided not to hide or not to disappear. And so the dialogue continues. It may have gone this way. We come to ask for your bread and fish to feed the crowd. Who? Me? What? We come to ask for your bread and fish to feed the crowd. But these are someone else's. These are not really mine. And I was just passing by. Actually, I didn't want to really get involved here. Maybe you can ask somebody else. We are coming and asking you for your bread and fish. Oh, well, you want my bread and fish to feed 5,000? I just don't think it's going to be possible. You can't be serious. I think I just better maybe just go. I'm just a servant. What will happen if I arrive with nothing? Oh, how I wish. How I wish John had recorded that conversation. Written down what went on, written down what was said, and exactly how the young boy was convinced. What a drama. What a power in convincing. This moment was critical, but John did not. And so we will never know exactly what happened that moment. But we do know some things. We do know some things. We do know that an unnamed servant had 5 loaves and 2 fish. And we do know that Jesus took the loaves, and when he had given thanks, he distributed them as he did with the fish. And the crowd of 5,000 ate as much as they wanted. We do know that. And because we know that, we can know, and it must only mean that the young unnamed servant handed it over, gave of his precious 2 fish and 5 loaves. As difficult as it was, I don't want to get involved here, as dangerous as it was, what will it be if I go home with nothing? As impossible as it seemed, feeding 5,000, no, I don't believe it's possible. This young unnamed servant gave his precious 2 fish and 5 loaves. And as I realized that, I know now. And what I believe now is there was a moment in this person's life that he had to take a leap of faith. Me? My little basket? Oh, it won't make a difference. I won't count. Oh, feeding 5,000? No. I don't think so. What I know now and believe is that this moment in this person's life, he took a leap of courage. What will it be if I go home with nothing? What will it be if I end up with nothing at home? And what I know and believe now is there was a moment in this person's life that he took a leap of commitment. You want it all. Maybe I can just give you a little portion of it and let me keep some. No, we need it all. Faith, courage, and commitment. And beyond all that, what is the most exciting piece of it all to me? And what I know and believe now is that in God's story, an unnamed servant was chosen to be the reason that this meal could take place, chosen to be the reason that hunger could be alleviated that day, chosen to be the reason that peace could blanket over this mountain with the blessing of food to the hungry. Wow. When he did his part, God did God's part. Who are the peacemakers? Who are the peacemakers? I tell you, it's a challenge. What I know now is that this child had a situation where he couldn't know exactly what to do. But who are the peacemakers? If you ask me that now, what I know and what I understand is that the peacemaker is the one who takes the courage. The peacemaker is the one who has the faith. The peacemaker is the one who has the commitment. You see, what I understand now is that the peacemaker is not just the one, is not just the someone in the other pew, or not just the someone who books are written about, or it's not just the someone who is on TV, or it's not just the someone that comes out and becomes famous. It is the unexpected one, the anyone. It is the one with the courage and the faith and commitment. Oh, and what I understand now is that in God's story, God's peacemaker is none other than you and you and you and you. See, Swarthmore Presbyterian Church, I want to say, God bless you. Keep the faith and hope alive, knowing that in God's story, it is the unknown, the unexpected, the anyone who is selected to be the peacemaker. It is none other than you and me. Oh, I want us to rise up with the faith. I want us to rise up with the courage. I want us to rise up with the commitment and know that in God's story, we're all called to be peacemakers today, tomorrow, and always. Peace be with you. Peace be with all of you. Amen.